Hello YouTube and welcome to lesson 31 of the Autodesk Maya training series. So today we're going to do something called a batch render, and for that we are going to create a project folder called Maya. So we are using the same project folder as before. So I'm going to set the project. So let's go to set project. And this is very important if you are going to do a batch render, because it is going to save all of the files inside the same folder as Maya. So I'm going to set the project, so the project is set, and I'm going to save this file. So I'm going to save the scene as my animation test one, and we're going to do a batch render. So batch rendering is actually for creating animations in Maya. We don't actually export the video. We have an option to export the video, but that's not how we usually do it, because rendering takes a lot of time. And if your computer crashes or freezes in between, then you might want to save that out. So anyways, I'm going to do a render out of the animation right here. So I'm going to say this is my tube or test camera. All right, I'm gonna do a camera animation right here, so just press continue. Okay, so create a camera. So create camera. Okay, there you go. So I'm gonna do a camera animation. I'm selecting my camera right here. So I'm just selecting my camera so I can do a default type of an animation right here, right from the camera. So press S, go to the side over here, just like this, and then drag it around and press S. Alright, there you go. There's my animation. I want the camera to be here, somewhere around here, right? Over here. Press S. Okay, there you go. So that's how you do it. And zoom out, or maybe up. Okay, so I'm gonna do this type of a camera animation right here. So there you go. That's my animation. Let's see my viewport right here. My camera viewport. Alright, there you go. So this is how my animation is actually going to look when it renders out. Alright, so in order to actually do the batch render thing, I have to go into the settings right here. I'm going to select, I want to render from frame 1 to frame 200. So I'm going to go into my settings right here, over here, right there, okay. And then I'm going to use my hardware, my software, that's what I want to render through. So if you have Arnold or Mental Ray, then you can render that out as well using the settings. So the image format, I'm going to choose JPEG. So usually we use TIFF for a higher quality image, but for the sake of this lesson, I'm going to choose JPEG. And then in the file name prefix, alright, so I'm going to use a batch render. So this is set in single frame right now. I want to render out multiple frames. So I'm going to select name, number, and extension. Frame padding just refers to the file name over here. So there's 0001, so that's frame padding of 4. So start frame will be 1. So if your computer freezes while it is rendering of about 20 frames, and you want to start from 20, then you set this to 20. By frame means this is skipping frames. So you don't want to skip any frames. You want to keep it constant. So end frame, you want to keep it 200 because it is 1 to 200 for me. It depends on your perspective. So renderable camera, I want to make sure that I choose camera 1. And I want to select my resolution here. I'm just going to select 640 by 480 for a normal render. So I'm going to close this out. And then now I'm going to render this out. So in order to render this out, simply go to rendering out here. So in render, just go to batch render. All right, there you go. There's the batch render. So it's use all available processes. This is batch render and close. And what this does is let me allow the access right here. Continue. And then it starts the batch render. So you can see that the option is right here. The other one you have is called render sequence. What this actually does is it renders does the batch render in the foreground itself. So you don't actually do it in the background, just like the batch render here. So if I were to go over here, you can see the details of the batch render in codes. So if you want to do it in foreground and you want to see individual images, then you do the render sequence, but I prefer the batch render. So it is kind of do the same thing. Render sequence is a new feature that you have. So now this is actually rendering, and since we are rendering in Maya and we don't have really much of the software, this actually is rendering quite fast. So I'm gonna Now let me just fast forward this so that it renders out the 200 frames. And we're done with the rendering with 200 frames. So I just open up Premiere Pro as well, because now I'm going to do my editing in Premiere Pro for this. So let me just go back onto my folder, Maya folder right here. And the Maya folder actually has the source images right here, and not the source images, sorry. So it's inside the images folder right here. So inside the images folder, you can see that every frame is actually exported in the format of JPEG. So in order to actually turn this into a video, I'm going to open up my Premiere. And if you don't know Premiere, then please be sure to check out my Premiere crash course. So inside of Premiere, I'm going to import the media. I'm going to double click on this. All right, so I'm going to double click. And here I have my recording. So let me just go to my desktop where I can access my Maya file over here. And inside of images, I'm going to select the first file and I'm going to check something called image sequence. So once I open this, this actually comes as a video file and not a photo file. So this actually comes as a 29.97 FPS photo as a video. So actually my Maya was set to 24 frames per second. So I'm going to modify this and I'm going to select interpret footage. And I'm going to just select 24 right here and press OK. So I'm going to drag this in the new sequence and then I can export a video out of this. So now you can see that my video is actually there. And if I were to play it, it comes as a video and all the images are turned into a video. And this is how you actually render an animation from Maya into Premiere Pro. So that's how you create a basic animation in Maya. Hope you guys enjoyed the lesson, and as always